Good evening, my name is Sarah. Adam, it's time to take a look at business news. Now on our concentration for tonight, we'll concentrate on the East African community and exactly what measures they are putting in place to ensure that there is movement of goods and commodities across East Africa. And joining us to speak about this is Adan Mohammed, who is the Cabinet Secretary for East African Community and Regional Development. When it comes to COVID-19, how has it affected the aspiration for East African region?
Well, COVID-19 has caused a lot of destabilization in many areas, including movements of people, movement of goods and services across EAC. One of the main pillars on which EAC is built on has been actually to promote free movement of people as well as goods and services. And to the extent that countries within EAC member states have closed their borders for movement of people, that has in a way had big impact. If business people cannot travel from one place to another, it is inevitably going to disrupt trade. In terms of the movement of goods itself, I think all countries have agreed that movements of cargo is a very essential service that is required by all member states, and that movement has been permitted and is now flowing across the border, albeit with some challenges in one place or another across the EAC countries.
All right, and in terms of even challenges, Yoweri Museveni, the president of Uganda, had tweeted and said that he had a lengthy discussion with President Uhuru Kenyatta and Magufuli of Tanzania, and they have come up with a common plan for truck drivers. Can you be able to articulate those common plan that Yoweri Museveni has come up with to ensure that the business for cargo continues smoothly?
Well, what prompted some of those engagements at the heads of states level is some of the challenges that we have encountered at some borders, specifically on the Malaba border that's between Kenya and Uganda, where we've had, despite agreements at ministerial level, some serious congestion, the truck queues running as long as 30, 35 kilometers long. And that is approximately 1,500 trucks stuck at the border of Malaba trying to enter into Uganda, mainly because of need by the Ugandan authorities to want to test all the truck drivers. I am pleased to announce that we have had serious discussion, and following that engagement by heads of states, we have now removed that backlog, and today as we speak, that queue of trucks entering into Uganda from the Kenya side at Malaba border has now reduced to about 3 to 4 kilometers, which is normal queue for trucks that are entering into that place. So that discussion, that agreement was to make sure that there is smoother flow of cargo at the border points, there's a minimal amount of disruption, and that agreement and discussion by heads of states have actually fruits that you have seen where the queues have now dramatically reduced.
What are you doing to ensure that you offer probably relief and grants to these particular businesses to ensure that there's still continuity of business at the end of the day?
Well, the business community and the impact of Corona across businesses and employees and farmers and all sorts of stakeholders across the country are issues that are being discussed by different stakeholders within the government. And a number of issues have already been announced by our president, whether it is to waive pay-as-you-earn taxes for people who are earning below 24,000 shillings, reduction of corporate tax rates, reduction of VAT rates, payments of refunds that are due to businesses, amongst many other issues that are being worked on by different government entities. The most important thing, I think, during this crisis is engagement by all relevant stakeholders, government, private sector, the judiciary, with issues of court cases, the department, to approve and pass legislation that support initiatives that the executive has put forward. And so the level of dialogue and engagement has been very intense between all stakeholders affected. And that is why whenever there is an issue, there is a bottleneck, such as the one we've seen in Malaba of trucks trying to take this into Uganda, swift action amongst relevant ministers, relevant entities of government can come together on both sides to remove those bottlenecks.
All right. And in Rwanda, we've seen the government has set up a new facility on the main Rwanda-Tanzania border to handle all customs clearing processes as part of efforts to contain the rise in cases of the virus. What exactly is being done in Kenya to ensure the same is being done? Because issues have come up or have cropped up that truck drivers who are from Kenya have been testing positive at the border points.
Well, as you can imagine, EAC countries are 6 in number, and each of these member states have different approach. And each member state have taken a position through their respective mechanisms of different, discussions that approach it differently. And some countries do test intensively at border points, others just do screening for people who have symptoms. Others actually are kind of freelancing, so to speak. And really, whilst we are Customs Union and EAC member states that come together through a treaty, each country still reserves the right to deal with some of these issues in protecting citizens. And we have, as a country, as you know, through the Ministry of Health, have intense program, regular testing, different hotspots across the country, the program of quarantine, information about how to reduce the spread of this disease. So that program is going on. And for example, as it relates to truck drivers, we want to test all truck drivers that move from one point to the other, whether they move across borders to other countries, or even within different counties in the country. We want to test truck drivers to make sure that the risk of transmission by these drivers, if at all are positive, is significantly reduced. And that test happens every 2 weeks to make sure that we reduce the possible impact of this spread, similar to the kind of challenges that people faced around HIV transmission, which I think we have had significant challenge coming out of truck drivers first. So a lot of attention is being put in by our health ministry to drive that program. Ours is to make sure that trade across these countries in terms of movement of cargo is not interfered with, whilst respecting individual country protocols and how we want to deal with issues around this coronavirus.
And in terms of the statistics, probably, can you estimate for us the revenue loss that we'll witness because of COVID-19 pandemic?
I mean, we have had predictions for GDP to, in the past, before Corona, to go between 5 to 5.5%. We expect at best that to be between 1.5 to 2%, if that. And because we are still at a very early stage of this COVID-19, we really don't want to, make some predictions that are still too early for us to determine based on the infection rates, what is likely to happen to the production by our factories in the region.
Thank you very much, Honorable Adan Mohammed, for taking your time to speak to us. We do appreciate that, and Ramadan Kareem to you. We've been speaking to Adan Mohammed, who is the Cabinet Secretary for East African Community and Regional Development, and he's been able to highlight exactly what measures the government is coming up with in our border points to ensure that truck drivers are safe at the same time so that they do not disrupt the supply chain. My name is Sarah Adam. Good night.